Okay, here we go. Tonight we're going to tackle deliberative. This is going to be an adventure to tackle the deliberative strength. Deliberative strength, honestly, is not a very popular strength. And when I say that, I don't mean that it's not that a lot of people don't have it, but a lot of people, even that have it, don't particularly appreciate it. So that's what I mean by saying it's not necessarily the most popular strength that's out there. So let's break this down a little bit. First of all, deliberative is part of the executing domain. And of course, executors experience joy by making sure things are done the right way. What the right way is what the executor has to determine for themselves. But deliberative, so for me, I've told you this in other videos, I happen to be what's considered an extreme executor because 5 of my top 10 sacred strengths are in fact executing strengths. They fall under the executing domain. Having said that, deliberative is not one of them. I do not have high deliberative. It's actually, as far as the executing strengths go, it's one of my bottom executing strengths. For me, it happens to be number 15. And for my wife, Kim, it's number 25. So it's actually kind of in that blah area. It's not something that we experience joy with. It's not something that energizes us. But at the same time, it's not really a shadow strength either. It's not something that we have to say to ourselves, we don't have to do this kind of thing. This strength doesn't honor who we are. We don't have to go that far. It's kind of like like what people in New York and people in LA think about the Midwest. I happen to live in the Midwest. This is flyover country for a lot of people. So nothing really exciting here. It's just something you pass over, from one place to the other. And so that's kind of what it means when you have a strength that's in that 15 to 25 area, anywhere that falls in between those numbers. That's kind of flyover country or just that kind of blah area. It doesn't really excite you, but it doesn't really bring you down either. So let's get back to deliberative. As I said, it's not the most popular strength, even amongst people who have it. And I think it's largely misunderstood. It's not a flashy strength. Frankly, it's not a sexy strength. But it's a solid strength, and we're going to get into why it's sacred here. And so let's jump into that. What does it mean to be deliberative? Well, so we talked when we were talking about the analytical strength. Analytical is part of the strategic thinking domain. And we talked about how what that means is take the emotion out of it. I just want to see the data. I want to see the numbers. I want to see the facts here so I can think, I can figure this thing out in my own head. That's analytical. Now, apply that same principle from not in a strategic thinking sense, but in an activator sense. And there you have deliberative. So it's, again, being careful. It's making sure you're making your plans based on data. You're taking the emotion out of things. You're figuring out the facts. What's the truth? What are fallacies? What are people making assumptions about that they shouldn't be? And cleaning all the garbage out, so that you're left with good, solid, raw data so you know how to do things the right way. That will lead you to the place where you can make sure you're doing things in a way that honors your deliberative. So it's a very valuable strength. Again, not a sexy strength, not something that you may get excited about, but at the same time, it's a very valuable strength, and it's valuable, like I think all strengths are. It's valuable to people who don't have it. So if you have high deliberative, and you're married or in a relationship or work for someone who has very low deliberative, maybe they're high activator. Like, for example, activator is all about getting things rolling, getting the group moving. Very much kind of like that cheerleader thing, and a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, very spiritual kind of strength almost. Deliberative's like, you know what? It's kind of the other end of the spectrum from activator. So we're going to do things carefully. We're going to do things methodically. We're going to evaluate. We're going to reevaluate, and we're going to make sure we're on target, and we're going to measure every step of the way. So you can see how an activator might get very frustrated with someone who is a deliberator. So if you're in that kind of a relationship, I warn you, be cautious of that. If you're an activator, try not to railroad your deliberator. Okay, that's very important. Because you'll just run over that person, him or her. And you won't even need to do it. You're just doing your activator thing. But they're like, whoa, slow your roll. Slow down. I got to think through this. I got to check this out. I got to I got to evaluate everything. That's what deliberator does. And because deliberators do that, they're very good at helping non-deliberators. They're good at helping non-deliberators not make rash decisions or start on a path of doing something, of trying to accomplish something, and going down the wrong path, excluding critical data that should be telling them how to do this. So you see, it's a very valuable strength. It's a very solid strength. It's a very grounding and anchoring strength, you could say. But it doesn't get a lot of fanfare. But again, this is something I don't have it high, but I have people that I work with on a regular basis who do have this high, and I have benefited greatly from working with the deliberative people I work with. That is an absolute fact. I look for their opinions. I look for their plans because I know they've thought them through. I know they're not going to go off half-cocked and do something that doesn't make sense that they're going to regret later on. They're going to be very careful, and I need that. I rely on that from them because I tend to get a little bit more involved emotionally in things. So that is the great sacred side of deliberative. It is that grounding, stable force that if we listen to that person, if we listen to that deliberative person, they're going to help us and reinforce that we're making good decisions. They're going to be a great support in that, and that we're actually doing things in a way that is going to get us the results we want. So, all right, so that's the sacred side. Let's talk a little bit about how this strength can go sinister. And yes, it can go sinister. So if you are in fact a deliberative person, you have deliberative in your top 10 or 12 or so, and you're working with people who are not deliberative, one of the things that can happen is they could very well, if they don't understand sacred strengths, they don't understand who you are as a person, they're going to make some bad judgments against you. They could. They could. They likely will. And what the kind of judgments they're going to make is they're going to see you as, first of all, well, you're slow. You're slowing down progress. We could be moving a lot faster if it wasn't for this person here, this person who we don't even know is deliberative, but they are. We could be moving so much quicker. We could be getting so much more done. And I'm talking like an executor here because that's who I am. So you see that they could get blamed for things. They could, this person's slowing down progress. And that's not good because it gets worse from there. So the deliberative person is going to sense that. They've been through it all their lives, right? Where people have looked at them as slow, or maybe even thought of them so badly as being a saboteur of what is trying to get accomplished. So if that's the case, what they're going to do, that when they start sensing, when the deliberative person, this is when it gets really sinister, when the deliberative person really starts sensing that others are making these kinds of judgments and drawing these kind of conclusions, these negative conclusions about them, what do? They shut down, okay? And they start going inward. They start sending all their stuff inward, all their thoughts, all their deliberative skills are just going inward. Then they're not vocalizing. They're not sharing them with the team. They're not sharing them with the person they're working with. And when they're not doing that and they're not able to express that strength, they're not living in that strength. And it's not going to be long before they're going to be forced to act somewhat in their shadow strengths. They're going to move and try to do things in a way that is very inauthentic to them because they're feeling too judged to share who they really are. They're feeling too judged to share this careful, methodic plan they have because it's been judged so harshly. And so that's where it gets sinister. They actually stop living within their strength, which is such a powerful, important strength. That's why I'm saying if you know somebody, if you suspect that you're working with somebody who has this strength, now that I've kind of described it, if you suspect you're working with somebody who you feel kind of slows things down, slows the roll, it could be they're analytical, it could be they're deliberative. Understand this is who they are and these are strengths. You got to listen to this because they will help you. These slower moving people were going to help you from making a rash decision. And they need you to hear them out. They need you to give them the time and listen to what they're saying. Usually you're not going to regret it if you listen to them, hear them out at least, because they need to be able to express that. They need to know that they're being valued. If you are in fact a deliberative person and you're stuck in a situation where the people you're working with are making these kinds of judgments against you, what can you do about it? One of the things I would say is talk about it. And for a deliberative person, for me to say that, they're going to be like, oh, that's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to address it. Okay, they don't like to do that. Deliberative people kind of bottle things up when things aren't going well, when they're feeling judged like that. The only way you're going to break this cycle is if you're going to have to get brave, hit that point where you're going to be brave for a minute and you say, you know what, there's something we got to clear up here. There's something we got to talk about. I need you to understand why I do the things I do. I need you to understand in this particular scenario why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. I'm not intentionally trying to slow down a process. I'm not trying to, be the Debbie Downer in everything we do here. But this is my strength, and I want to make sure we do things the right way. So you have to be able to open up that kind of a dialogue. I think that's the most important thing you can do to help you from not taking that inward and then falling into your shadow strengths and really making a mess of things. So powerful strength. I do respect the deliberative strength. I do love the strength. I love all the strengths. But again, this one's not. Excuse me. This one's not one of those sexy strengths that gets a lot of fanfare. But don't doubt it. It is very much a powerful and a much needed strength. And if you got deliberative people in your life, you are blessed to have them. Thank you so much for watching. That's all I'm going to talk about for deliberative tonight. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, inspiration starts here.